From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Thursday, October the 29th, 2020. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo announced today that American citizens born in Jerusalem will now be able to list Israel as their country of birth on their passports. While Pompeo said the change in policy is consistent with President Trump's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital, he stressed that the U.S. is not taking a position on Jerusalem's boundaries. Up until now, if a U.S. citizen was born in Jerusalem, their passports would show Jerusalem only as their place of birth and not a country because of Jerusalem's status, deemed contested until determined through negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians. Jewish groups welcomed the change. The American Jewish Committee tweeted, "This is an important policy shift that further solidifies the reality of Jerusalem as Israel's capital. We welcome this long overdue step." B'nai B'rith International CEO Daniel Mariashin told JNS, like establishing the U.S. Embassy there, this recognition of Israel's capital is a further affirmation of the crucial principle that Jerusalem is and always will be Israel's capital. U.S. Secretary of Defense Mark Esper arrived for a short visit in Israel today to meet with his Israeli counterpart Benny Gantz, meant to reaffirm the U.S. commitment to Israel's qualitative military edge after U.S. discussion of selling F-35 fighter jets to the United Arab Emirates. Last week, as we reported to you, Gantz met with Esper at the Pentagon, and the two signed a strategic agreement, Gantz tweeted, that will contribute to the security of the country for decades to come. Today, Gantz wrote, "I hosted him," referring to Esper, "on a visit to Israel, and we continued the discussion of working together to ensure the security superiority of the State of Israel." Well, a report on anti-Semitism within Britain's Labour Party was released today. It was published by the Equality and Human Rights Commission, which said its analysis points to a culture within the party which, at best, did not do enough to prevent anti-Semitism and, at worst, could be seen to accept it, finding the party responsible for unlawful acts of harassment and discrimination and a lack of leadership on those issues. This while under the leadership of former Labour Party leader Jeremy Corbyn. Corbyn has been criticized for a number of remarks and actions, including calling members of terror groups Hamas and Hezbollah friends and attending a wreath-laying ceremony for the Palestinian terrorists behind the Munich massacre. Corbyn responded to the report today, saying that the scale of the problem has been dramatically overstated for political reasons. And for that remark, Corbyn was suspended today from the party. Current Labour leader Keir Starmer, who took over from Corbyn back in April of this year, said he accepted the report and would implement its recommendations right away. Starmer said, "It's a day of shame for the Labour Party. We have failed Jewish people, our members, our supporters, and the British public." Chairman of the Jewish Agency, Isaac Herzog, said that today's decision by the UK Labour Party marks an important milestone in eliminating the scourge of hatred and anti-Semitism from a historic and important party in Britain. The Labour Party, he wrote, is setting an example to the entire world in removing anti-Semitism from the political game. Israel's Knesset today held a memorial ceremony marking 25 years since the assassination of Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin by a right-wing Jewish extremist. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the Knesset gathering, saying we must all condemn the destructive effects of incitement and strongly condemn the actual manifestations of political violence from any camp. A burst of gunfire, he said, was not and will not be a substitute for a ballot box. Israel's President Reuven Rivlin posted a photo of himself at Rabin's grave yesterday, writing, "We will always remember you." Holocaust survivor and Olympian Sir Ben Helfgot was presented a Pride of Britain award, honoring his tireless decades-long work in Holocaust education. Helfgot, now 91, was born in Poland and survived Buchenwald and Theresienstadt before being liberated at the age of 15. His parents and younger sister were killed. Helfgot was brought to the UK, where just 11 years later, he led the British weightlifting team at the 1956 Olympics and then again at the 1960 Olympics. Helfgot received the UK prize at the Holocaust Memorial in Hyde Park earlier this month, surrounded by his family. Given to him by TV presenter and author Stephen Fry, who said of the Jewish British hero, his quiet determination to ensure that the unspeakable wickedness and evil of what happened has been inspirational. Against indifference, denial, and doubt, he has raised a literal and figurative memorial wall that honors the victims and helps push back against the possibility that such horrors might be allowed to happen again. The ceremony will be seen on British television this Sunday. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Thursday, October the 29th. At 7 o'clock, it's Talmud Study. At 7:30, Dani Ayalon and Josh Hammer support Trump-Pence, and Aaron David Miller and Chuck Freeliff support Biden-Harris in a debate presented by the Miriam Institute. At 9 tonight, Mark Golub speaks with Democratic spokesperson Haley Seufer and Republican spokesperson Bruce Abramson on issues of importance to pro-Israel American Jews with regard to the 2020 presidential elections. At 10:30, it's a look at the documentary Fiddler, Miracle of Miracles. And coming up next, Mark Golub speaks with Neil Scherer, who led America's efforts to find Nazis hiding in America. He describes his efforts to prevent the PLO's chief negotiator, Saeb Erekat, the architect of Pay for Slay, from teaching at Harvard this coming semester. And that's the JBS News Update for Thursday, October the 29th, 2020. I'm Teisha Bader. Stay healthy, stay well.